This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to the Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 Montachusett Joint Transportation Committee. Shall we begin with introductions? Brian, or not?
Yeah, that sounds good. So just so everyone's aware, what we've been doing for this is I'm just reading the names off of the list as I see it on the screen. If you could just indicate that you're present and who you're affiliated with, that'd be helpful. So we have Bruno Fisher. Bruno, you there?
Sorry about the mute. Yes, Bruno Fisher, Administrator of the Montachusett Regional Transit Authority.
Bruno. Laura Schifrin.
Laura Schifrin here, in my capacity as MRPC Chair.
Bennett.
Jeff Bennett, Templeton Select Board.
Robert Swartz.
Present, representing Gardner.
Sarah.
I think you called me, Sarah Bradbury from MassDOT District 3. I'm in the project development section.
Janet Tice.
Janet Tice here, Shirley Planning Board.
East Belmont.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Grace with the transportation planning at MRPC.
Laura Hanson.
Good afternoon, Laura Hanson. I'm at MassDOT in District 2. I'm the acting project development engineer.
Tyler Godin.
Tyler Godin. I'm in the transportation department at MRPC.
Thomas Ruda.
Yes, good afternoon. Tom Ruda at District 2 Project Development. Thank you.
Travis Condon.
Travis Condon with the North Central Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Terry Bean.
Terry Bean with the Montachusett Regional Planning Commission.
Sarah Canamilla.
Sarah Canamilla, MassDOT District 2 Projects.
Marshall Dennis. Marshall Dennis. I see Marshall there. Marshall, well, I'm not sure who you're affiliated with, but welcome. Amanda Reed.
Present, Town of Lunenburg Planning Board.
Ryan Doherty.
Hi, Ryan Doherty. I'm the planning director here in Westminster.
Army Santiago.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Santiago. I'm in MassDOT District 2 intern.
Coach Kahali. Guy Corbacero.
Present, Town of Winchendon Planning Board.
Derek Schuster.
Yeah, but I've got no audio.
So Derek, I can't hear you there. Marshall, I just heard you come through.
I don't.
Can't hear you, Derek. Derek's from Office of Transportation Planning at MassDOT. And myself, I'm Brian Doherty, Transportation Director at Montachusett Regional Planning Commission. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. It's like we really should be indoors today because it's nice and sunny and comfortable. I plan on cutting my grass as soon as this meeting is over. Anyway, next thing on the agenda is approval of the May 14th, 2025 minutes. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Guy Corbacero.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Travis Condon.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? I see or hear none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 I don't think we need a roll call vote for this one. So thank you, that's enough. And I'm not voting because I wasn't at the last meeting. Next thing on the agenda is the FFY 2026 Unified Planning Work Program. Brian, can you?
Bob, looks like we skipped over one. We skipped over the nominating committee.
Oh, excuse me. That's a problem with my bifocal glasses.
So I can handle this. If you remember last month, we convened we developed a nominating committee. So the volunteers for that committee met before this meeting. So Bruno Fisher from Mart and Laura Schiffern from Townsend volunteered to be on the nominating committee. They were tasked to come up with a slate of officers for the JTC to serve the upcoming term, which lasts from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. So we did that. This is the slate that you see here that they came up with. And that slate is as follows. For chair, Robert Swartz from Gardner. Vice chair, Travis Condon, North Central Mass Chamber of Commerce. And secretary, Beth Faxon from Townsend. So these are also the current officers. They've indicated their willingness to continue to serve in their so we thank them for that. So the process for this is that we are presenting this slate today. First order of business at the next meeting is to officially vote on this. Additionally, as per our bylaws, the chair will open it up for additional nominations right now.
Is there anyone that wants to submit a name for any of the positions? Nomination for any of the positions. Don't rush. I see or hear none. So I move that the nominations be closed. So
Great.
we'll vote the slate on the next meeting.
Thanks to everyone who served on the nominating committee, and thanks for our officers who are willing to serve in that capacity.
Okay, now we'll go to item number 5, FY 2026 Unified Planning Work Program, the UPWP. Quite an extensive document.
It is, and Sherry is here to give an overview of where we're at in this process.
Thank you, everybody. As you know, that the draft UPWP has been out for public comment that started May 23rd, and it is going to end on June 13th, so we're just a couple days away. We received some initial feedback from MassDOT this morning. Overall, their comments seemed fairly light, and we're not expecting to make any major changes to the substance of the document. But with that said, MassDOT did request that we make a few adjustments to the language and references so that they're better aligned with some of the latest federal guidance. I know there was some questions initially when we were putting the document together on whether or not we should change a lot of the environmental justice, Title VI, those type of references throughout the document, and we're told that we should have kept it in, and now it seems that they changed their mind, and now we're switching back over to how it seems to be going federally. So we'll be going through the document and adjusting as necessary. And since this is the only feedback we've received so far, we feel that the document's in a good place. With that in mind, we'd appreciate if you'd consider moving forward with a recommendation to the MPO for endorsement. And as always, if anyone has any questions or comments, you can shout them out. I see Derek has his hand up.
Is my mic working now?
It is.
Hi, thanks. Sherry, I just wanted to elaborate a little further on that comment from MassDOT. We're just trying to set the region up for success and smooth use of federal aid, which is why that recommendation for your 3C planning document in writing not reflect those things, or not reflect that content. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be a priority or part of the work that the region performs, but we just want to minimize any opportunity for scrutiny or withholding of funds from the federal government for your 3C planning work. And MassDOT thinks you did a great job with preparation of the UPWP this cycle.
Thanks, Derek. I think we are understanding of what you're saying, because I'm on other boards too, and we're adjusting how we word things to make sure that funding continues to come in as we so badly need it. So we totally understand, and that won't change how we do planning. We'll still plan as usual and just be a little less forthcoming with it when it comes to it in the documents. That's totally understandable at this point. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, great. Robert, I think we're just looking for the recommendation to endorse at the MPO meeting next week.
I'll make a recommendation to endorse.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Guy Corbisiero.
Any further discussion? I'd just like to add that last night the Gardner Planning Board was presented with a plan for 89 duplex units in a plot of land here in Gardner, in fact, not far from my home. So that's going to be an increase in housing for seniors, primarily for 55 and above. And we're looking forward to pick the plan apart a little more. I would like to see it coming, because I think Gardner needs more senior housing, which would open up the larger, nice homes for the young families to purchase when the old folks move into their senior housing. So I just want to share that. That's coming down the road. So I have the first and second. There's no other discussion. I guess we'll all be in favor to have moved this recommendation forward to the MPO committee. Are there any?
And typically we've handled this type of thing at the JTC as a consensus. So
yes,
we'll consider that a consensus recommendation to the MPO to endorse at next week's meeting. And as we mentioned, we are thankful for DOT's comments. We plan to make some changes in some of the references that they indicated. So thank you.
How to initiate, see item 6, how to initiate a TIP project. That's someone from transportation, MassDOT.
I can give a brief intro on this. I'd like to thank Derek Schuster and his team from MassDOT to volunteer to come today to talk about initiating a TIP project. We talk about the TIP often with this group as it relates to just our obligations at the MPO and putting the actual document together. But I thought it would be nice to have some indication on how to actually get a project approved for the TIP. So thanks to Derek. And Derek, I can turn it over to you. I can give you control of presentation.
I'm going to actually ask that you give Sarah Bradbury control, because she prepared a PowerPoint slide deck, which unfortunately, Sarah, I was only able to look at a few minutes before this meeting. But I can set you up for the content that Sarah's about to share. So for initiating a TIP project, the TIP, of course, is the Transportation Improvement Program. It's a program of all of the federal aid highway and transit investments that an MPO programs or plans to invest in over the next 5 years. And I think foundational to what ends up in a TIP, the projects that your region programs need to align with planning priorities identified by the Montachusett MPO and documented in your long-range transportation plan, which you most recently updated in 2023. if you haven't looked at your long-range transportation plan recently, or if your community is interested in doing a project akin to what Sarah's going to talk more about, I just want to make sure that that connection is clear. Whatever project a community is trying to do, if it doesn't align with something in the vision or goals for the Montachusett region, it's probably not in the best interest to go after that project for TIP programming, or presents an opportunity for the MPO to reconsider what their goals are so that that project could be included. That link is critical with any project that gets TIP programmed. Beyond that, though, I'm going to hush, be available, and happy to answer any questions after Sarah's presentation as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Yeah, I did it's a really basic surface level of when a community needs to get a project on the tip. It's sort of basic, but, all along the way, it's important to coordinate with MRPC staff as well as MassDOT staff, and they'll keep that connection and remind you of those priorities, the whole process, if a project is feasible at any level. So I'm just going to go through. It's pretty surface level, and if you have any questions, we can certainly answer those for you. Thanks. All right, here we go. So the most important part of initiating a project is identifying a need, right? Most whether it's a DPW or a town planner or board of selectmen, they know where the issues are in their community transportation issues. So it's starting out with a need. Here are some examples. A need to improve a high accident location, improve traffic congestion along a corridor, level of service at an intersection or a corridor. If you want sidewalks, improve multimodal accommodations. So once you have that need identified, that's when you contact your planning agency staff, MRPC staff, and they'll discuss the issue you've identified, and they'll review, I'm sorry about that. They'll review the data they have collected. They'll review the information they have on, can you see that? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can you see the full screen?
We see the full screen.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Oh, sorry. We see your presentation in PowerPoint mode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Sorry, I'm going to go. All right. So the MRPC staff will help you identify what kind of data you might need to collect or any further study that may be needed on the need that you've identified. And a lot of this work they do through their Unified Planning Work Program, which we just, recommended to approve for the Montachusett MPO to approve. And some of the general tasks they do, they collect data and analysis, pavement management. So they're probably already aware of a need when you come to them, just because of all the data collection and analysis they do every year as part of the work program. And like I said here, if the MPO hasn't already identified the issue, the MPO staff will can offer specific data collection and study or traffic accounts through their technical assistance if they haven't already collected that data for you. If you need a more detailed study or analysis, you can request that a specific corridor study or intersection study can be done as a UPWP task in future years. These are examples of some of the work that Montachusett has done over the years to benefit a community that may want to initiate a TIP project. So any study or analysis will include a recommendation for improvement, and that is basically what the project proposal will be. These recommendations are the basis for the project proposal. Once a community has decided to move forward with a recommended improvement, they'll contact the district staff at MassDOT. That would be myself and Ann Sullivan, Laura and Daryl at District 2, and you might have some other staff at District 2 as well. And we'll talk you through the recommendations and, whether we think it's a viable project through the TIP process or for a MassDOT approved project. So, and that goes back to what Derek was saying, and is it consistent with the priorities of MassDOT and the MPO and those sorts of things. So again, we'll be making those connections. The general TIP, MassDOT TIP development project, there's 5 steps. Planning studies, environmental studies, funding process, final design, and implementation. So the first step is the planning study, which is essentially what we talked about, working with the MPO through the UPWP, or a number of times communities will have their own study done and bring that to MassDOT to initiate a project. And there are also cases where projects become so significant regionally or even over MPO borders, maybe one or more MPOs or multiple municipalities, then we might have to take a much more comprehensive planning study. It all depends on the issues that we're brought to. So after reviewing the planning studies, the district staff will suggest that the municipality initiate the project through MapIt. MapIt is MassDOT's online project intake tool. I'm not going to talk too much about it because this could be a whole other presentation, but it's a really interesting tool. It's a GIS-based mapping tool to where communities go in and actually lay out exactly where in the community the project would be, and it also advances it through the MassDOT review process. Okay, so let me just go back real quick. Right, so once it's submitted in MassDOT, in MapIt, MassDOT's project review committee will review, evaluate, and approve the project for TIP programming, advertisement, and construction. So this is where you get the MassDOT PRC approval you've probably heard of. So projects can't be necessarily programmed on a TIP if MassDOT for the federal advertising program until it's been approved by the PRC. Okay, so once it's approved, and the design is underway, it'll go through an environmental study. The study will evaluate the type of project it is and identify the different environmental impacts. You'll know once you're in MapIt, that's one of the things the GIS layers pull is it in a wetlands, or is it impact wetlands, or vernal pools in the area, and all that kind of stuff. It pops up on MapIt, so that will be evaluated in a little more detail and see how implementing the project would require, what environmental permits would be needed for the project. And so I briefly suggested design. So for projects that are on municipally owned right-of-way, municipally owned roadways, they're responsible for the design and the right-of-way of the projects. It's important to note that MassDOT project management section, district's office, and the MPO staff will coordinate with the municipalities at every step of the design process, as well as the design consultants. So that brings us to the funding, which is the TIP. During the preliminary design, the project proponents will work with MassDOT and the MPO staff to identify the appropriate funding for the project, whether it's CMAQ or HSIP or that sort of thing. At this time, the MPO will also evaluate the project for program consideration based on the MPO's criteria, which many of you are familiar with. So that prioritizes funding for projects in the region. The next phase of the project development is progression through to the final design. Once the project has hit final design stage, that's the final layout of the project, the design details are worked out, and the necessary permits and certificates have been completed. And then the last step is implementation. The project is advertised for bid and construction. The contract is awarded, and the improvements are constructed under the supervision and responsibility of MassDOT. Any questions? I know I kind of ran through that.
Thanks, Sarah.
Did I miss anything, Derek?
No, all I wanted to just add is, a little expectation management for JTC members and communities interested in initiating a TIP project. This is a long process. This is a process that has a lot of strings attached. Whenever you have federal aid dollars attached to a project, it means that environmental study isn't only subjected to MEPA, it's also subjected to NEPA, which means a more comprehensive environmental review process potentially. And more importantly, when we're discussing TIP projects, we can only program projects on the TIP that funds are identifiable for. The TIP is a fiscally constrained document. That means that if a few communities have $20 to $30 million of needs in a particular year, but the region only has $10 million of TIP funding available, that a planning process and prioritization exercise may need to take place in order to pick which of those three projects would be programmable, or potentially coming up with another funding scheme for how to pay for a large project in a community over a multi-year time frame. And that's where MPO staff, Brian and his team, and MassDOT, whether it's me at Office of Transportation Planning or the district team, can be of assistance to helping navigate that.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. Well, that's actually really important, and that's why, whenever you ask the MPO staff or the district staff, about a project, it's always important to sit down and talk with us about the specifics. We can tell you, and I've had this conversation with many, many communities, not necessarily in Montachusett, but their expectation of the project, when it's advertised through the federal aid system, the cost is probably significantly more than the community may be expecting, just because of all the various design requirements and complete streets requirements. So, there's been many instances where after we've had that conversation, the town, if they're really just looking for a resurfacing or something like that, they might do it on their own with their Chapter 90 funds. So it's really important to talk to your district staff, because we can kind of let also that this project, the MPO is never going to be able to fund it, or it's going to take 3 years of the TIP to fund this particular project because of the limited targeted amounts. So yeah, but it's such a case-by-case basis, and every single project is different in so many ways, environmental ways, design ways, funding. So it's just important to talk to your district staff and your MPO staff.
Thanks, Sarah. I see Guy's hand is raised.
Yes, Sarah, in this PowerPoint presentation, would it be available basically to show other planning board members?
Sure. I didn't show the last couple of slides. I have my contact information, and Ann Sullivan has Laura's and Daryl's contact information as well, because I think the best way to start a TIP project is contact your district, and we can help you. Laura, you have more to add?
Yeah, hi everybody. Hi, I'm Laura Hansen. I'm at District 2. I'm the acting project development engineer. I don't know, Sarah, if you could maybe scroll down one more slide and show that contact slide, if it's possible. Thank you for putting that information in there. I also just, whoops, where'd it go? There you go. Yeah, Laura Hansen. So I did put my information also in the chat, because I didn't know Sarah was so efficient. She was going to provide my information. So thank you, Sarah, for that presentation. I do want to say, please just, if this is in District 2, send me an email. Daryl is he's out on some medical leave for the next couple of months. So, definitely you can copy him also, but, he won't be able to get that email for a while. So definitely send me an email. And I just wanted to mention, I know Derek Schuster's on the call, and we just had a meeting with Derek Cravat yesterday, and there's a new municipal engagement team that I believe Derek Cravat is leading.
I can speak a little to that, Laura.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you could maybe talk about that. That'd be great.
Yeah, so MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning recently created a municipal grants engagement team. This is to provide assistance to communities that may be going after discretionary grants from the federal government, such as Safe Streets for All, implementation grants, or some other grant program that there's been a notice of funding availability or opportunity for. And for a lot of communities going after these grants, we've noticed in recent years that they've never done a federal aid project before. It's been a while, and there's a lot of strings attached, as I noted. So that team is working with communities that are going after discretionary grants, earmark funds, or maybe working on designing a traditional tip project for the first time and needs assistance along the way. So I think if you're going through this process of initiating a project and highlight those concerns, if a community that you're part of hasn't done this before and requires assistance, MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning, in addition, of course, to Montachusett Regional Planning Commission, is able and willing to help you along the way with technical assistance on the process. And I can make sure Brian shares with the JTC members my contact information and Derek Cravat's contact information.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. And I believe they're going to try to get out to or give a presentation to the planning commissions, I believe in July. That's what he mentioned yesterday. And, you know, we have 13 planning commissions in the state, so I'm not too sure how they're going to shuffle all those in a month, but I know they are hoping to do that outreach to give a better explanation or more, you know, information to share with everybody. So stay tuned, and I don't know if there is a meeting in July in Montachusett. There probably will be, right? So maybe there'll be.
We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. And if not July, you know, the next time. So
going back to my question, I hate to break in, but
Go
the
ahead,
question
Guy.
was: is there a electronic version of this PowerPoint presentation that I can access at this time?
Yeah, I'll share a PDF that you can share with your board. I'll share it with Brian, and he'll send it out to all the JTC members after the meeting today.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Good.
And in the presentation, there's also a link to the MAP-IT guidance for those of you that know about it or want to know more about it. And it's constantly being updated. I believe there's going to be a new update of MAP-IT soon, but we don't know any of the details. So I would say go with what we know. I think the next project review committee meeting where new projects are approved by MassDOT is in late September. And typically, if you want to have a project submitted, you need at least to work with your district and have it submitted at least a month to 6 weeks before then. Just as a heads up for September or any future submission you want to make, we need a lot of lead time because everyone at MassDOT reviews it before the project review committee.
And there's not a
questions.
there's not a gun to any community's head to have something ready for the September PRC. MassDOT hosts them about every 4 months, so there will be recurring opportunities if your community needs a little more time to discuss or determine if they want to pursue PRC.
And I would always recommend before you submit anything to MAP-IT to talk with your district project development section or your MPO staff, just to give us a heads up so we know it's coming. If not, talking through the process with you before you submit it. Any other questions? Great. Thank you.
I had just a few things to add,
Sure.
if I may.
Yeah, Brian.
And I'd like to share my screen again.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So obviously, nobody initiates these tip projects every day, so there's going to be some confusion on the outset. So just reach out to us. Sarah and Ann are great at District 2. They'll help you. Same thing with Laura and Daryl at District 2. Sarah and Ann are at District 3, actually. But there's a lot of times we find this confusion on what actually is eligible for tip funds, and any project that is on what's called a federal aid eligible road is eligible for a project through these tip funds. And actually, a lot of these roads are local jurisdiction roads, so they're town owned. And a lot of times people don't realize just how many roadways are eligible for these funds. An easy way to find that, maybe this is even a first step for some people, is to go to our website, mrpc.org, which you should see up on the screen here. You go to the tab up at the top here, Planning the Future, Geographic Information Systems, and then Mr. Mapper. This is our web-based data platform. A lot of our public-facing data is on here. And you can see the regional web apps on the left-hand side. One of them is Federal Aid Eligible Roadways. So this is that map. All these roadways that are highlighted here are Fed Aid eligible. So they're eligible for tip funds. Actually, all the roads that you see in yellow here are local jurisdiction roads. So this is owned by your community. For example, in Lunenburg here, a significant amount of locally owned roads are eligible for projects. Oftentimes, communities don't realize that. As we all know, to do a full depth reconstruction on a road is beyond what anyone's Chapter 90 money can do. They have to go to other resources. So this tip opportunity is available and should be thought of as well. That information is on our website, or probably it's just easiest to give me a call or send me an email. I can give you a map of exactly what this is, set you up with whomever, and we can talk through the process a little bit. I know the districts are an open door. MRPC, the MPO is an open door. We're here to help. So encourage everyone to look at what roads in their community are eligible for federal aid.
I just wanted to add one more comment. Thanks, Brian, for showing this. This conversation has been about how to initiate a project for the tip on the highway program, but there is a transit component to the tip as well. And if your community is interested in transit improvement, I would encourage reaching out to MART as well as MRPC staff. Perhaps there's shuttle service or 5310 funded community transit service that your councils on aging are looking to provide. Everything comes back to working with MRPC to find out what opportunities there are. There is a lot of federal funding and various federal funding programs that could be available to your communities, but it's always going to come back to working with MRPC. So please always continue to keep Brian and his team in the loop if you're going down this route to seek tip programming.
So I have a question, Janet Tice from Shirley.
Yeah, Janet.
Hi. So that map showed a big sort of, so how does one, if your road isn't federal aid eligible, is that the end of the story, or can that be adjusted? I see that there is a great big gap without any federal aid eligible roads sort of in the Shirley area.
Yeah. So this is a federal. It's 80% funded by the feds and then 20% matched by the state. So it is limited to the higher classifications of roadways. Each community is a little bit different as to how many miles they have. To change that, sometimes when we see areas get a little bit more urbanized, the road classification change, and they qualify for federal aid. Sometimes we see that, but really it is what it is for the most part. I don't know if Derek, you have anything to add to that.
I was going to just say, Janet, it depends on what the project type is. There are circumstances where there might be an opportunity for TIP programming a project that's not on the national highway system, but is federal aid eligible. For example, an off-system bridge. We have an off-system bridge program that's for repairing or replacing bridges that are not on the national highway system. There's also work we do for safety improvements with the Highway Safety Improvement Program funding that is eligible at top crash clusters, fatal and incapacitating or serious injury crash clusters in the Montachusett region. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, if you know, but I do believe that's agnostic to whether or not it's an NHS roadway.
Yeah, I think that's right. In rural areas, there's a lot of boxes that have to be checked before, the funds could be eligible for a project. But I think there's definitely opportunities if in rural areas for highway safety funds. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a road that is sinking into a swamp because it was built on a surface of logs in the 1800s and has never been rebuilt.
Hey, Janet, that's federal aid eligible, actually. Is that Leominster Road you're speaking of?
Yes.
There could
That's
be
eligible
other
for federal
funds,
aid.
yeah. If
Oh,
there's
I
some
didn't see
sort of
that on the
resiliency
map, though.
issues.
All right. Okay, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I love
Yeah,
that Brian knew which
we'll be
road was built with the
contacting you
logs.
on that.
I just wanted to add one more thing. If you go to mass.geo. Most towns have accounts already, but they also have what they call a basic project screening, where you don't have to formally create a project and map it, but you can enter in your information and it can tell you a lot in terms of eligibility or possible environmental impacts and all that sort of thing. So you can do just a basic screening. So if you're not sure, I would encourage you to take a look at that too.
One other thing to consider is, so this is fully funded by federal and state funds, the actual construction itself, but the communities are often all the time responsible for design costs, which can be tough. But, some of these big projects, as I mentioned, very hard to fund with the resources of the town as it is right now. So a lot of consideration goes into it.
But
and I'll give Sherry credit actually for me knowing what that road was, because we were just talking about it a couple weeks ago.
Thank you.
I just wanted to note that there's a federal aid program called Protect, which is for resiliency improvement, and that would technically be a Protect eligible TIP project if it were to be initiated if it hasn't been already. It blows my mind, like some of the ways that we used to construct highway or transit investments in the past, or what they're made of. So that's the first. I've never heard of a roadway sinking because it was built on logs. Now it's falling.
That road was probably built with like $50 worth of materials. So
yes, and it's on
there's some merit to it.
It's on the approach to the new 80 bay storage warehouse that's been built on Leominster Road, just across the Lunenburg line from Shirley. And that road is going to get heavy truck traffic if that facility ever gets leased.
So Janet, that actually reminds me of another point I wanted to make you all aware of. The Commonwealth has what we call statewide modal plans. So we have a statewide bicycle plan, a statewide pedestrian plan, rail vision. There's also a statewide freight plan. So if you have an investment like what you're describing that is along a critical urban freight corridor or part of the NHS freight network, those would, if the project idea you have aligns with any statewide plans, not only Montachusett TIP or long-range transportation plans, we encourage you to refer to those modal plans at the time you're initiating a project. We definitely want to address the needs that overlap. It's not only a municipal or regional goal, but also a statewide one in those cases. So that bodes very well for projects come PRC.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. A very good presentation and a lot of other extra information that goes with it. I'm looking forward to getting my copy of the presentation. Item 7, contract status reports. It's the RTA. You're going to make a presentation, I believe, on contract status. Hello.
Yes, I do have a couple items. You hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, George.
My staff, they're still reviewing and evaluating our bus routes in Fitchburg and Leominster. And we had a recommendation to shorten our bus route and improve the frequency of the service in Fitchburg and Leominster. And we had some recommendation and new ideas. We met with the elected officials in Fitchburg and Leominster, and we presented our vision, and we received very, very positive feedback from the two cities. And shortly we'll be having a public meetings to present our vision and the new services to the public. The other thing I have is a Mass DOT just awarded Mark a new grant to purchase 12 bus shelters. And I asked the committee and the towns if they know any location really it needs a bus shelter to contact me and send me the location to review and see how we can help. That's it. Do you have any question? Thank you.
Thank you, George. Mass.3C, any comments to add to the contract status?
Yep. So this is in relation to our more or less our UPWP, our ongoing UPWP as a department. So I can give a quick update on that. So as we move past our federal reporting obligations, the UPWP and the TIP that we've just heard about the last several months, we're moving on towards sort of our data collection season. So our program year runs on a federal calendar. So we started October 1st. Typically we're scoping out our projects, and then the winter hits. We're locked inside for a few months, but now we're free to be out in the field and collect data. So that's kind of what we're doing. All that data will inform some of our ongoing projects. And I'll make mention of 2 of those projects. Most recently, most of the traffic counts have been completed in Townsend to inform our Route 119 quarter profile. So we'll be working towards analyzing that data. Similar effort is underway in Ashby, but this is more so looking into existing assets in the downtown area as it relates to trails and trail connections, and we'll be analyzing that as well. Our program year ends September 30th. We plan on bringing some of that information and our final reports to this group at upcoming meetings. One other thing I wanted to point out is a public meeting that we have next Tuesday, Tuesday, June 17th at 6 o'clock at Leominster City Hall. This is in relation to our Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan. We've been working on this for about a year and a half. Basically, this plan will qualify a number of the projects we identified within the plan for federal funding. So we've been working on this for a while. We're at the final stages. We've identified a number of different projects in the region which we'd like to add to this plan. Once again, public meeting is next Tuesday, June 17th, 7 o'clock at Leominster City Hall. There's also an online virtual link as well. So the information is in this flyer. One other thing to MassDOT's presentation, I found this really useful. Here is their Grants Central page. So, as it relates to grants, transportation grants through the state, through MassDOT, a number of them are here. So I can add this link in the chat as well. There's also some information on, where your community stands on some of these programs, whether it's eligible, whether you need to do some things to make it eligible, so on and so forth. So I thought that was a pretty good resource there, and I'll put that link in the chat. I think that's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Next, administrative matters. Next MJTC meeting. I looked at the calendar. Looks like July 9th is the next meeting.
Okay, so
we're going to take it off.
So here's what I suggest. We are done with some of our federal reporting obligations. We went through the UPWP and the TIP. We don't seem to have a TIP amendment to discuss next month's meeting. I myself won't be available. Typically in the past, we've gone every other month, when it comes to the June, July time period. So tentatively, I would recommend that. We try to keep these agenda items relevant with some fresh information. It's pretty slow that particular week in July, so I'll throw out there that if we don't do July, August 13th would be our next meeting.
Yep.
If something comes up, I'll reach out. I'll reach out to everyone and make sure.
Okay. And we'll just plan on August 13th, unless we hear different from you, Brian.
Okay. Yep. Great. One other thing I have under here is I just wanted to make mention the appointment forms for this group. We sent these out to all planning boards, select boards, mayors in the region. Also, there's organizational members. We made sure the organizations got these. We asked everyone to appoint somebody as a JTC member. So these went out in April, I think. We're asking for a reply by June 30th. So administratively, we'd like to get, membership updated and everything like that. So if you could get back to me with that, or if there's any questions, reach out at any time.
I'll follow up with my director. Okay. Looks like a move to adjourn. Does anyone have any other comments before we do that, or?
Move to adjourn, Guy Corbacero.
I'll second that.
That's right. I have a first and a motion and a second. If there are no objections, I'll consider the meeting adjourned. Hopefully see you all in August.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.